It's pretty cold out these days. It's the end of February, so I don't know about you, but I'm not eating a whole lot of lettuce this time of year. But that doesn't mean that I don't love a good winter salad. A while ago, I showed you my at-home salad bar setup. The salad bar does come out at my house in the winter, but it just looks a lot different than it does in the spring or in the summer. To make my winter salad bar, I started with cooked things. So in this case, I wanted to use some whole grains instead of a leafy green. I just find whole grains to be such a nice, hearty base for a salad, especially in the winter. So I have some farro here, and I normally cook it in the Instant Pot, but I do have my new rice cooker now, so I thought it'd be fun to test it out. So I just cooked this farro on the brown rice setting in the rice cooker, and it turned out perfectly. It's super fluffy, all the grains are cooked to perfection. And to cool these down quickly and to make sure that it didn't all stick together, I just dumped it all out onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper and just spread it out really evenly to let it cool quickly and to kind of let each little grain kind of solidify in its own state so it didn't glue to each other. And then I set that aside and moved on to the veggies. So winter squash, you gotta love it. I love butternut, so I decided to peel and cube up some butternut. I have an oven preheating to about 450 degrees. You might have noticed I don't wear gloves very often when I'm cooking, but the one time I do wear gloves is when I'm peeling butternut squash, because it has some kind of weird liquid that seeps out of it when you peel it. And it leaves a really weird feeling on your hands sometimes. It doesn't happen every time, but when it does, it's really hard to get off. So I wear gloves whenever I'm peeling butternut squash. Once that was peeled and cubed into about 1-inch pieces, I just sprayed some avocado oil over them and then sprinkled them with some salt and some za'atar. Put those in the oven and got on with some other things. I did want a fresh, uncooked component to this salad bar, so I decided to peel and grate some beets and carrots. So I just have 1 beet and 3 carrots here, grated them up, and then just to kind of add a little interest to them, I tossed them with a little tiny bit of sunflower oil, a sprinkling of sumac, which I love. It's just like a really tangy, kind of citrusy spice, and a little bit of salt. Seeing as I already had the oven on for the butternut squash, I thought, why don't I roast something else? So I have some Brussels sprouts here. I find Brussels sprouts to be pretty readily available this time of year. And I started by cleaning them. I chopped the end off and just let all the kind of tough outer leaves fall off. And then I cut them into quarters or halves, depending on how big they were. And then tossed those in a little bit of oil and some salt, a little bit of pepper. For the Brussels sprouts, I put the baking sheet in the oven ahead of time to preheat. And then once these were all chopped up, I just threw them down onto the baking sheet and let them go until they were nice and brown. Probably took about 15 minutes. The next component is just some hummus. I was thinking about cooking some lentils. I thought, oh, I've cooked enough things already. And I thought about just throwing some chickpeas into a container, but I wanted to make some hummus because I do love having a few different varieties of textures, and I just love a blob of hummus on a salad. I think it's so nice. I've made hummus on here before. It's pretty straightforward. I just use water, lemon juice, salt, garlic, tahini, chickpeas, no oil. Blend it till it's really smooth, and 1 can of chickpeas fits perfectly into this size container, which is so satisfying. I do have a few other bits and pieces just lying around in my fridge and cupboards. So I have some olives. I decided not to transfer those to the salad bar because they're already here in a jar. I have some Bulgarian cheese, feta style cheese, which is always nice to have around. And I have some salted almonds, toasted almonds, for a little bit of crunch. Lastly, I just need to make a dressing, and I like to make one dressing and have it kind of kicking around in the fridge all week long. This salad bar will not last a week. It'll probably last about 3 days. It's Sunday today. There are 2 of us, so we can kind of use it for our lunches tomorrow and Tuesday, and then probably by Wednesday, I'll end up just like mixing all the rest of it into some kind of concoction. To make the dressing, I'm just gonna squeeze some lemons. I'm just making a pretty basic lemon oregano dressing here, I think. I love getting creative with salad dressing. I have a salad dressing video and a little PDF cheat sheet if you're interested. I'll link to those below. I'm gonna use some Dijon mustard because I like how it makes the dressing emulsify, and I also like the flavor. I'm gonna use some salt. I've got a little bit of this herb salt, which I really enjoy. I always use it whenever I remember. I think it has like celery salt in it and stuff. It just has a little bit of a nice flavor. And then I'm gonna throw in a good 4-finger pinch of dried oregano. And then I'm just gonna slowly add some sunflower oil. This is a really nice sunflower oil I bought at my European deli. They make it all over Eastern Europe, but it has an actual flavor. Like it smells like sunflowers. It's so nice. And I'm just gonna add about double the amount of oil that I added of lemon juice, which is my preferred ratio, 2 to 1. You can adjust that based on your own taste. Nice. It's nice and sharp, I like that. All right, now let's bust out the salad bar. So I've got the squash and the farro in one kind of big container here. Seeing as I had the parchment paper anyway for the squash, for roasting it, I figured I'd just use it to kind of keep them separate in this big container. And then I have the hummus, which fits perfectly. I love that. I have the carrots and beets and roasted Brussels sprouts, which also fit perfectly. I just love it when things fit perfectly. It's so good. Okay, so let's make a salad. I'm gonna start with some farro in my bowl here. A couple scoops. A couple scoops of butternut, maybe 1 scoop. And at this point, you could definitely heat this up and make it more of like a warm grain bowl thing if you wanted, but I like it cold, I think, or room temperature. Throw down some Brussels sprouts and some carrots and beets. I'm gonna throw some of this cheese on there. Just crumble some of that on. Couple of olives because I'm a fiend for them. Maybe 3. Little blob of hummus. And then I'll just drizzle a little bit of dressing here. I mean, you don't need much. There's so much flavor going on. There's already tons of flavor on each of the components, I guess, except for the farro. Just a few dribbles is all you need. And then, I don't know, a bit of pepper. Maybe a couple of almonds. And that's it. That's my delicious little make-ahead salad bar salad / grain bowl. What I like about this method is just having everything together on this one tray. I feel like it just feels so easy. And when you open the fridge, it's like a no-brainer because this thing is just, you know, front and center, takes up a whole rack on your fridge. It kind of makes it impossible to forget about it. Oh, this thing is comforting, it's refreshing, it's super flavorful. I've kind of got all the boxes checked. I've got some crunch, some salt, some creamy, some chewy. Oh, it's just everything I want in a bowl, basically. So let me ask you this. If you were presented with a bowl like this, would you mix everything together and eat it like a tossed salad? Or would you take a little bite from here, combine it with a little bite from there, and kind of keep the variety going throughout the whole experience? To reference the sporkful, are you team bite variety or team bite consistency? I am 1000% bite variety, but I'm curious what you think. There's no right or wrong answers. I hope this video helped to give you some ideas on what to put in your winter salads. If you need a little bit more help in the salad dressing department, I recommend you to watch this video next. You will be all set for salad dressings forever. Thanks so much for joining me this week, and I'll see you next time.